Whoa, 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 hey, 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 hey!
Lent, a time where the faithful will fast and abstain to discipline both body and spirit. Now, besides being a wet blanket, I decided that I needed to do something meaningful over those 40 days. Something that would deepen my relationship with the King of Kings. But how was I supposed to stand out against over 1 billion papists who are all out there doing the typical things you'd expect to see? Now, I'll be honest with you, my prospects at eternal paradise, not the best. I knew that to convince old St. Pete to open up those pearly gates for me, I'd have to do something truly remarkable. Almsgiving, daily rosaries, reading the sacred text. No. I needed to do something far more spiritually demanding. So I watched anime.
You know, it's not as easy as it looks.
Tezuka Osamu's In the Beginning, an anime created by the father of manga, commissioned by the Vatican, and originally broadcasted in Mediterranean Florida. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Really? The Vatican? Why would they want an anime adaptation of the good book? Well, you gotta remember, this was the 1980s. The Catholic Church was led by Pope St. John Paul II, a Pole. And believe it or not, this isn't actually the first time the Bible has been turned into an anime. That honor goes to the Superbook series, made for Pat Robertson's Christian Broadcasting Network. Now, no disrespect to the my fellow brothers in Christ, but this is a Catholic channel, so I'm gonna be talking about the Catholic anime. Granted, it was made by Tezuka, who is agnostic, so I guess this is actually an Anglican anime.
Got him!
Tezuka is a man who needs no introduction. The impact he left on manga and anime and a certain Disney movie is still felt to this day. And like I said, Tezuka wasn't all that religious, but that didn't stop him from frequently including religious themes in his work. He had this long-running manga on the life of the Buddha, and it's actually what caught old John Paul II's eye to begin with. And despite not being a Buddhist, Tezuka managed to create a compelling story that most Buddhists regarded as respectful, insightful, and entertaining. So if Tezuka could do that for Buddhism, then why not Christianity? Tezuka himself was pretty interested in the prospect too, and he got to work on it not too long after being approached by Italy's broadcasting network. A little side note about Tezuka, his most famous anime are probably Astro Boy, Kimba the White Lion, and Dororo. But in the 70s, he started to experiment a bit. His studio released a handful of art house projects that were a bit more erotic. Hey guys, want to hear a cool Tezuka fact? Tezuka passed away from stomach cancer in 1989, and he had a desk drawer in his office locked for over 20 years. In 2014, his daughter finally opened the drawer and found some half-eaten chocolate, a letter to the creator of Akira, some sketches relating to the various manga he was working on, and a large number of erotic sketches of anthropomorphic animals. You don't think he... Alright, that's enough background info, let's talk about the final product. In the Beginning covers a wide range of biblical stories from the Old Testament. We start with Adam and Eve and finish with the Nativity. And most of the well-known books and stories make the cut, but certain parts are skipped over. I'm not going to sit here and list every single difference, but broadly speaking, events that aren't necessarily related to the main theme of each story aren't included. For instance, we never see Abraham go to Egypt with Sarah, or all the different rebellions the Hebrews start after the golden calf incident with Moses. But there are a few parts that aren't shown that probably needed to be. When I say King David, what do you think of? Probably David and Goliath, which we do get, but also David's adultery, which we don't. And then there's Daniel, who dunks on the Babylonian royal, but that's just it. No den of lions or anything like that. Another big one might be with Sodom and Gomorrah. The locals don't threaten to aggressively romance the angels anymore, and we don't see the disgusting origin for some of the Canaanites. And some sections of the OT are dropped altogether. I'd say the most important part is probably Jacob. He does show up when we cover Joseph's story, but Jacob is kind of the quintessential Hebrew. We're talking about a guy who finessed his older brother's birthright and then threw hands with God. This is the whole Jewish experience wrapped up in one guy. I think it should have been here, but with only 26 episodes, some stuff is bound to get left behind. Just like Elijah, Elisha, and Jonah too. If only we got Samson's cautionary tale about simping, the West could have been saved. While I still think we could have included some of these guys a bit more, the anime does do something I appreciate. It spends more time with certain characters to give them a little more more personality and depth. It ain't exactly Shakespeare, but it does its job. Some stories like the Tower of Babel didn't really have a POV character, so it's kind of cool to see a new side to that story by creating one. And speaking of anime original characters, Rocco, the Scrat of the series, and almost certainly a servant of the Antichrist. This dumb little fox shows up in like every episode to engage in unprompted tomfoolery. And he's either immortal or constantly reincarnating because he's in the Garden of Eden, but I guess he gets kicked out or something? I don't know, he just keeps showing up. Apparently he was cut out of the English dub.
I don't think they like me.
Can't imagine why.
Now, at this point, you might be wondering if In the Beginning is meant for kids. Sorta. There's a fair amount of violence, especially in the second half, but very rarely will you see any blood. I mean, this ain't exactly your granddad's animated Bible show. This is, well, I guess it is still just your granddad's animated Bible show, but slightly more mature. I don't know, maybe it's the same tone as like Avatar or the first Pokemon movie.
You stupid.
No, not.
What's 9 plus 10?
21.
You stupid.
Actually, there is some decapitation and a bit of nudity here and there, so maybe Clone Wars? Tezuka wanted to make the series as historically accurate as he could, while not trouncing on any of the spiritual stuff. I didn't realize that rich Egyptian women wore transparent silk clothing until watching this, so that was educational, I guess. I also didn't realize that Adam and Eve had to fight off the dinosaurs after getting kicked out of paradise. Now, I'm sure some people will take issue with this depiction, but I grew up watching the Walking with Dinosaurs series, so I approve.
It was the Holy Land, it weren't Jurassic Park. This is bullshit.
I will say I'm not the biggest fan of this anime style. To be honest, it kind of has that VHS energy, that Aladdin TV show kind of look. Tezuka has a very noticeable style, but it's not really my cup of tea. The character designs are kind of all over the place. It sometimes feels like you're watching two entirely different shows. Some of that can be attributed to Tezuka's untimely passing early in production, but regardless, some of the characters look a little too cartoony for me. I mean, why did they have to do Abraham so dirty with his design? How is he supposed to lift his holy name on high when he can't even lift the 2.5s? A little bit of praise I can muster is that each character looks pretty distinct. Some of the prophets towards the end kind of blend together, but it's usually pretty easy to tell who's who. And the last thing I want to mention is that Joshua, the absolute Chad, who did not commit a genocide because, let's be honest, the Canaanites aren't people, is voiced by Joji Nakata, who I know best as the voice of Kirei Kotamine from Fate. I find this hilarious.
主のおかげで勝利を手にすることができました。感謝いたします。
I'm really glad I stumbled upon this little series. It may have its quirks, but I think Tezuka really succeeded in making a true Christian anime. In fact, I kinda just want more now. Maybe we could just focus on one little section to really flesh things out. My vote would be the rise and fall of the Kingdom of Israel, starting with David and ending with the conquest of Judah. There's a lot of cool stuff there, and I think it'd be perfect for an anime. Francis, I know you're a weeb. How about we commission another one? Hey, look, man, I pay my tithe, okay? I think I'm entitled to another anime adaptation of the greatest story ever told. Please don't excommunicate me. Well, until next time, Ave Maria, Deus Vult, and you're all just gonna debate religion in the comments now, aren't you?